morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's like yesterday that I was here talking. Welcome to all of you. In 1993, on the telephone, I met a gentleman by the name of Dick Warren. We were talking back and forth about my support group and learning a little more about his sales training business. So we had talked back and forth, and I would always talk with this gravelly voiced man on the phone. Used to wonder, what does this guy do, what's he look like, etc. That's all come to fruition. But during those first talks that we had on the telephone, he mentioned to me, he said, Cleon, have you ever heard of Toastmasters? Yeah? You ever belong? No. Think about it. That's all he said, think about it. Well, that just piqued the interest. I had taken speech in college. So I knew that Toastmasters was about speaking. Whatever would you do here? So I checked it out. I called that number, which was Lou Webb, that those who were here the other night. She was the one that always answered the telephone. She gave me a list of clubs. There was one right here in Tigard. Cool. I went. The rest, you might say, is history. About the 15th of April, 1994, I signed up and became a member. And that was the beginning. It took me over a year to really realize what goes on, because we were small at that time. And I began to grow, do some speeches, a few evaluations. You all heard how I got into the first evaluation contest. That was because of Gene Sandwick and Greg Henderson, who said, would you like to go see a contest? I said, sure. And we went. The target speaker came out and spoke, and they said, okay, all the contestants in the back, and they go, get up, go. I said, for what? You're competing for the club. I'm not competing. Yes, you are. And that's how it began. Of course, I failed miserably. Luckily enough, I was #1 evaluator, and then I got to sit there and watch the other ones come out, and all I could do is like, oh my God, what did I do? Because I felt awful. I really made a big mistake. I learned so much from that, and the nice part was I learned that the people were nice to me. They said, what a great job. I'm like, you're kidding. I saw the other people. I was nowhere close. And I began my process of learning what Toastmasters was really about. I thought it was a nerve thing because I have a nerve problem. That's not it, as many of you have found out. And some people do utilize that and get over that quickly. And that's why I tell people it's very fast. It wasn't too long after that I was drafted as president. Greg Henderson looked around and said, we have to get some new officers, and Cleon, you're president, and so-and-so, you're VP of Ed, and that was it. And I'm going like, where was the election? Where was the election? The only thing worse was you could become an officer if you weren't there. That was the more fun. I began to put Toastmasters together with my Job Finder support group. I began to realize that many of the people coming through that group, as smart as they were, as many degrees as they had, how many years of work they had, their problem in getting out there and interviewing was their problem. They did not interview well. People can read the resume, well, you have degrees, you have this, you have so much time you work, but there was something missing, and I began to see it. I thought, this would be a wonderful venue. And so the first new member that I brought in was Bob Pugh. And time went on, and he's been very successful in what he's doing. And I brought a few others of you in here, and plus other people. And it's been very fun to watch the people make their headways. Within the club, there was the Hopkins brothers. Continual banter. One was handsome, one was older, one was younger, one was a marathoner, one was a goal setter, back and forth. So most of you know Eric Hopkins. Paul Hopkins, his older brother, gave a speech I've never forgotten. And the whole speech was about but. B-U-T. He gave 7 minutes worth of talk about why we have to be careful at using that word. And to this day, I am extremely careful when I put the word but in there, because in essence, but erases everything I just said. That's really a wonderful looking suit there. But the tie, bingo, suit's gone, tie is the front for it. So it's really interesting the things that stick in my mind. Miles has been great when it comes to that. He has given tidbits in the speech to which I still use on a regular basis, such as to change someone's opinions or minds or how they do things 17 to 24 times. Remember that? That's what it takes when you want to have somebody make a paradigm shift. So poor parents, when they're young and they don't know that, how many times do I have to tell you to pick up your clothes, young lady? Well, about 17 to 24. And then I'll finally have it. And I share that with my grandchildren once in a while. I said, well, when your parents ask you that, you just tell them, 17 to 24. course, their parents don't always appreciate that. Henderson and Chalk, both of them. One's a beaver, one's a duck. Continual bantering. We've also had the bantering on the political front, and it continues back and forth. Friendly banter, learning banter, I call it. Leadership. So I was drafted as president. I almost said, well, no, that's not right. It's not a fair election. But I began to learn that, yes, we will learn to lead. The leadership has grown. We didn't have a leadership manual back then, 17 years ago. We had a little bit of talking about it, but there really wasn't part of the course, and that's grown into it. And in today's world, I can see where leadership is of the utmost importance. And it's more than managing or supervising. It's of leading and encouraging others to come up to their potential. And that's the fun part. Have them come up to their potential of what they're capable of doing. I remember when Bob won the evaluation contest at the district level. Now we have this district winner. We heard the other night that this club was great for putting together a lot of those. They have a lot of winners. So what I want you to go home with today, thought about all this. Miles has always said to me, Cleon, can you talk about anything besides Toastmasters? He's also suggested to me, he says, why don't you just talk with your hands in your pocket once in a while? Get your hands down. Your hands are always just going to town. Other people say, oh, I love your gestures. That's because they probably haven't seen them too much. Because so many times, what do we do with these klutzy things? But you can. You learn all the time. And they stick with you. When you're out in public, the other people don't even know what you're doing as you're, oh, okay, put your hands down, or take your hands out of your pocket, whatever it might be. I want you to remember the timing. We've all learned about that timing light. And the evaluation, the speaking, use of that timing light. Get within the light. In the very beginning, as you first began speaking, it's like, is the green light coming on? Come on, I'm ready. And then secondly, we go, it's the red light already? Like right now? The red light's already here. We go back and forth. But that in itself has taught you how to take time and make time to do what you want to do, no matter what it might be in your life. You learn to take this timing thing and make things happen when you want to, as opposed to listen to other people who always say, oh, I don't have time. I don't have time. You can always make time. Put positive input in there, and most of all, encourage other people. Mr. Toastmaster.